Spinner looks concerned. And there is a reason why Spinner looks concerned. So basically, in this final chapter that will have clips in it, because obviously my last video will have, the last video in the series will not have clips in it. So basically, Spinner is guilt ridden, and for good reason. In season 4, as we all know, he was part of the group to try to destroy Rick once and for all. Of course, it whittled down to him, Jay, and Alex, and Jimmy. People forget that Jimmy was also bad towards Rick, especially at the start of Time Stand Still when he and Spinner put Rick in a dumpster. And then Rick got some spray cans. I guess he either bought them or he got them from his mom's place. So basically, he spray painted everyone's cars and all that. Spinner, Jay, and Alex were basically pissed off and were tipped off that it was probably Rick who did it, and they needed to raise their game up. Of course, they couldn't go to Raditch because then they would have had to explain themselves why Raditch would say, well, why did you retaliate? So basically, Spinner, Jay, and Alex have to figure something out. Worst part is that they now have the fact that Jimmy has switched sides and basically is protecting Rick. And of course, Rick confirms the fact that he X'd their cars because he gave the symbol. So basically, Spinner, Jay, and Alex decide to teach him a lesson and basically come up with a prank, a paint and feathers prank. We don't know about paint and feathers until when Spinner and Jay are in the bathroom setting it up. Of course, they're making the mixture, well, after Rick leaves the room. So basically, they find Rick and Jimmy in the bathroom at the intermission of the quiz competition, and basically, they convince Rick he should do it. He should do the competition because Rick is smart and all that. And basically, they told him everything was cool. But sadly, though, it was actually false hope, as basically Spinner and Jay did everything in their power to convince Rick that nothing bad's going to happen to him. And of course, we all know the paint and feathers dropped thanks to Alex. So basically, Rick is humiliated. And I don't know why Spinner thought he needed to tell Jimmy about the fact that he did the paint and feathers thing. If Spinner had kept silent, maybe Jimmy would still be walking. Who knows? Spinner was his own fault. So of course, Spinner gets caught in the deleted scene by Raj making fun of Rick and says that meet me at 3:30 for an important talk. Of course, Spinner talks to Jay, saying that Raj might know. Now, of course, if you don't look at the deleted scenes, you can probably guess that Spinner's worried that Jimmy is going to rat on him. And that's when Jay sets up them talking about Jimmy and all that, thinking that they can get themselves out of trouble. Unfortunately, what ended up happening, well, if you look at the deleted scenes, you actually should know why Spinner says Raj knows, because Spinner actually realizes that Raj may have an inkling. I mean, Spinner could play dumb as he normally does. So, unfortunately, it leads to Rick shooting Jimmy, and then Rick accidentally being shot by his own gun thanks to Sean. But Spinner put 2 and 2 together, whereas Jay and Alex didn't. And basically, word got out that Jimmy got shot. And Spinner says, we convinced Rick to shoot Jimmy. I gotta tell somebody. And Jay says, you're screwed no matter what the outcome is, even though Spinner says, I owe it to Jimmy. So, unfortunately for Spinner, things look bad. I mean, yeah, like Spinner had this guilt that resonated and he didn't visit Jimmy in the hospital. But there might be a good reason for it. So, as you can probably guess, Spinner feels a lot guilty about why he wasn't there for Jimmy. And that's just the way it is. I mean, Spinner knew that if he went to the hospital, he had guilt on his mind. Like Jimmy said, I should have been there for you. My bad. I don't know why Jimmy said that. It's like, it's kind of stupid. Jimmy gets shot and he feels he should have been there for Spinner instead of getting a bullet in his back. No, it's fine. Pardon. It's kind of like the guy who was shot by Dick Cheney on a hunting trip. years ago. I think around the same time. And that guy basically apologized for what Dick Cheney did to him, even though Dick Cheney shot him. It just didn't make sense with Jimmy. I mean, Spinner decides to basically be Jimmy's, I would say, slave in a sense, because, like, he wants to make Jimmy better. And of course, we can probably guess that Spinner wants to alleviate the guilt. But this poignant moment, so as you can see in that scene, basically, Spinner is convinced that Jimmy will be okay. But Jimmy says, now I'm in a wheelchair. I don't know what my life is going to be. My basketball career is like pieces of me. Basically, Jimmy thinks of himself as a jock, and that's what we all thought of him, as a jock. And I didn't even realize that between the events of Time Stand Still Part 2 and Eye of the Tiger, it was a 3-month period because Jimmy said he was laid up for 3 months. So basically, they did, how many episodes? I guess 8 episodes within a 3-month period. So that means the floating timeline on things might be a little bit off. Although we do know in Places Carry that basically within 10 days after that happened, that's when Dracula was basically put on the shelf by Radich. And then I guess a couple weeks after the shooting, Radich was gone. And then basically they spent a lot of time on Dracula practicing. And it would make sense that how Emma is really been withdrawn from things in secret. That's a fair assessment. But the fact of the matter is that Jimmy basically, I don't know what it was with him. I mean, the guy says that I just wish he had better aim. It's like, dude, don't say that. And Jimmy blames himself, thinking that, he rode Rick, and that led Rick to snap. It wasn't all Jimmy's fault. I mean, yeah, Jimmy was part of the group, but he turned around. He was on the good side. But anyway, I mean, Spinner did the right thing by confessing to Jimmy. I mean, Spinner just wanted to help Jimmy get some closure at Spinner's expense. Of course, Jimmy rolls away. I wouldn't say walks away, but technically that's wrong. But anyway, yeah, so Spinner now has to face some repercussions. He's ready to, or basically the school now knows about Spinner's crimes and basically wants Spinner to stay away from Jimmy at all costs. Spinner says he can fix the problem, but everyone says, no, you can't. You've done enough damage. So basically, Spinner is working. Jay comes into the dot and basically berates him, saying, I knew that Spinner couldn't keep his mouth shut. Spinner said, Jimmy deserved to know. Jay goes, yeah, but now you're a pariah, just like me. And takes pride in the fact that, Spinner is in deep trouble. But the question on my mind is, I mean, a lot of people think, wait a minute, if Spinner's caught by the student body and all that, how come he hasn't faced any punishment? Well, for one simple reason, the students know, but now the question is, will the faculty know? So anyway, Spinner and Jay get drunk and then they decide to crash Jimmy's party, quote unquote. And under that scene, it's basically that Spinner feels a whole lot of anger towards himself and all that. And he wants to try to help Jimmy out. But he's drunk, he's in a car. Basically, they're like, Spinner, what are you doing? Don't you? And then Jimmy appears in the middle. Right there. And Spinner says, move, Jimmy. Jimmy says, I'm not going to let you do that. And how dare you do that to me? He said, Spinner's like, I want my friend back. And Jimmy basically said all those things about the fact that treating Jimmy like a friend wasn't basically out trying to get him in trouble with Rick, which is true. And Jimmy said, I don't know why Jimmy said telling him was bad. I mean, if Jimmy found out about Spinner's charades through a second party, like somewhere else, things could have got a whole lot worse for Spinner. Spinner had to tell the truth because he needed to, he needed to make himself better. That's what Jimmy said, and that's right. Spinner needed to alleviate his guilt. And I think Jimmy said that basically he didn't care about protecting Jimmy. He just cared about trying to protect himself. And of course, Jimmy says that Spinner's dead to me. You're dead. So you can tell that Spinner basically needed to tell Hatzilakos the truth. And so he does. He says that the painted feathers was his idea just to get back at Rick. And besides, he would bully Rick a lot. And Hatzalakos is shocked because this is not like Spinner's a troublemaker, but this is beyond what Spinner does. So basically, she wants to know anything else. And basically, that's when Spinner decides to out Jay alongside himself. I think just to make himself feel good about the fact that at least he confesses to the cops. Or, of course, the school cop being Hatzalakos. Hatzalakos is shocked that Spinner would do that. I mean, her reaction saying that a boy is in a wheelchair and a boy is dead because of your selfish actions. I mean, like, blaming Spinner for the death of somebody and for someone being in the wheelchair is a bit harsh. She blames him. Is she blaming him for Rick's death? I mean, Jimmy in the wheelchair, fair enough. But blaming Rick's death? Rick's death was a combination of many factors that a lot of people contributed to. Whether or not you like it or not, basically, it contributed to the fact that Rick brought a gun to the school, thinking he wasn't going to get out of the school. He was not going to be alive one way or the other. Basically, he was going to shoot up the school or he was going to shoot himself up, if you will. It was just basically the immaturity of the students who decided to destroy Rick, even though that, it was pointless. It was to the point it was pointless. And the fact is, being ignored by the school faculty when the students basically wanted to have points, but basically they feel they got shut down. And then, Sean accidentally shooting Rick. I mean, Sean was trying to save Emma and Toby, possibly. So, yeah. But then, of course, she said there's zero tolerance and all that. That gets me thinking. And my way of thinking is that where the hell was this zero tolerance policy in previous episodes of Degrassi, previous seasons? My guess is that the school board opted to decide to do a zero tolerance policy and slap it on Degrassi and maybe all the Toronto schools, who knows? But the fact of the matter is that, the school board probably had to pay a hefty price for it. Maybe the school board had to make a settlement with Rick's parents based on the fact that their son, even though he's a school shooter, may have died at a school because of inattentiveness. But I mean, Rick's parents probably were told that Rick did it to himself. I mean, maybe Radish told Rick's parents that basically if he had came more straightforward with me, I would have taken him more seriously. And besides, Rick might have lied to his parents about why he had to leave the school after he put Terry in a coma. It's basically that Rick had built a web of lies, and he himself was the reason why he was the victim, was the bad guy. And I mean, Rick's parents probably would never have gotten help from the police because the police said that your son's a school shooter, that trumps everything. But remember, this is 2004. And of course, Spinner's aftermath after being expelled alongside Jay. It's surprising that Alex survived, but I think Spinner and Jay basically pinned themselves because of what they did to Jimmy. They said that Alex had nothing to do with it. And besides, Alex wasn't even told, excuse me, Spinner didn't tell Jimmy about Alex. So basically, yeah, so Alex's name couldn't be dragged in the mud unless Alex came forward and confessed, which never happened. So Spinner comes back to the school. He wants to get his credit so he can graduate. Hatzalakos decides to give him summer school to make up some of those courses. And basically, Spinner feels betrayed and decides to burn the school for what they did to him. But Jay stops him. Yes, Jay stops him. So basically, Spinner takes the summer school courses and basically wants to get some kind of second chance. And throughout season 5, his redemption song was one of the best of season 5. I mean, yeah, there was Jimmy's supposed love affair with Ellie. There was JT and Liberty expecting a kid, Emma's eating disorder, and betrayal of Manny for Peter. But yeah, Spinner redeemed himself, and Jimmy finally talked to him at the end of season 5. Mission accomplished, Spinner, and it didn't hurt that Darcy was there to help him along the way. So yeah, Spinner became a very decent character. Although we didn't know that he was going to marry Emma. That is so random. So anyway, that's the end of this video. The next video will be basically a recap of my 9 videos. And then basically a very special thing at the end of it. You don't want to know. And I don't think you want to know. But it'll be a surprise. Goodbye.